Hey everybody, it's Sebastian back with Lost Hombres, and today we're going to be talking on episode 26. Welcome. I just want to give you guys thank you for coming and supporting me and giving me encouragement, and let's keep this going. Today, I'd like to take some time to reflect on what I've been working on, where I'm at these days, and kind of like my goals for the future and what I've learned in this journey and this process. It's been very interesting since starting this podcast and just seeing where I've ended up at. Just all the things that I've learned through this journey of self discovery, just understanding spirituality, what it does for me, how much it's changed my life, how amazing life can be, especially when you really start understanding the ability of manifesting. When you start aligning with the universe, things work out. They work out. Things get better and you start to flow. And when you're in flow state, it's like when you're having a really good match of like Call of Duty, or like you're just like the dance is perfect. You're just dancing perfectly, or you're at karaoke night and you hit every note, and it just feels like everything is aligning. And that's what it feels like to awaken your spirituality, to align with the universe. It feels like you're connected to something bigger and it's rewarding you as a result, right? It's like a parent in a way where it's just encouraging you to keep being who you were born to be. It's your true parent, right? Our parents here in the world, they are in a way a vessel, right? They are a mechanism for you to reach this plane of existence, right? And they are very important for the tutorial, right? They're important, especially for starting the process of being here, right? So they're a key component in the process of bringing a spirit to the physical realm, right? They have to do their part. They have to do their dance. They have to do the connection, right? Two spirits have to connect to create a new, right? So they are necessary, but they are not the absolute. They are a part of the physical realm of the world, but they are not the sole purpose. Right? That doesn't matter as far as bloodline. That doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's not relevant. What's relevant is that you align with the universe. That you align with the things that you're supposed to be doing. What your DNA was meant for. What the inner person and the outer person can do together. Right? When you finally start aligning your past, your future, and your present, and everything feels like it was meant to happen to create what's meant to happen. And when you find that sweet balance, when you finally find that coherence, that mindful state, that nirvana, that tranquility, there's many, many names for it. When you find that peace in your heart, that is when you fully unlock your divine ability to understand, to be in a way stable, consistent, being able to withstand what others say and not be impacted by it, but, curious in nature, aware, exploring all understandings of possibilities, like, where is this coming from? What does this mean? How is it affecting me? What does that mean for me? What might be influencing this behavior? What do I know about this person? So you just take the time to appreciate all the details that life gives you. And when you incorporate all these little details and you incorporate all these little things that you know to be real, to be true, regardless if people accept it or not, when you accept truths for what they are, that is when you're able to really hone in on what it means to be at peace, because you understand what reality is and you understand how reality works, and the things that you've been aware of for quite some time, you start to accept them. And that acceptance is what helps you reach a deeper part of yourself. It helps you keep seeking the answers within. Instead of focusing on finding answers outside, you spend the time to find the answers within. You realize you have an entire universe inside of you. You have an entire separate reality that lives within you, called your imagination, called your inner self, right? Your subconscious. And the subconscious is what you connect with when you finally quiet the consciousness. When you stabilize the consciousness, you're able to engage with the subconscious, because the subconscious is your feelings. It's the thing about you that can't talk, but can express itself in ways that can't just be words. It can use words, it can write, right? But it doesn't do that. It likes to speak in movement and feeling and flow. And so it's like the carpet in you, right? It's the carpet side of you. It's like from the Aladdin, it's the it's the body. And so that's our subconscious area. And so that's one part of it. And so when you're sleeping, when you're dreaming, when you're unconscious, you're in your subconscious, right? That's the ability to create. That's your imagination. That's when you're looking at something and you can imagine it being something else. You can imagine it in a different way. And this is to me when you see something as a kid that you really enjoy and you're like, man, that's so cool. Like I remember my dad had these tattoos I thought were so cool. And then when I saw them, I was like, that's not what I remember. Because I was like mixing it with things. And so you can see that the imagination of me as a child was very like expansive in comparison to what reality was. So we have the ability to imagine beyond what we're seeing. And so that's what children can activate is the subconscious, the imagination land. And that's why you can still have a conscious, subconscious child, you could say, when they are at the age where they're interacting with you. But when you're older, you don't remember those years. So like 1, 2, some people do, but not everybody does. And so those subconscious years are a bit different for people, especially again if you're talking about subconscious versus conscious, right? So your subconscious is your ability to imaginate stuff. This is where I believe you unlock the ability to understand the world, like I said, on a deeper level, where you see patterns and you see signs and you start making connections of things and you start taking the opportunity to like see things for what they really are, and you can like imagine it differently. And that ability to imagine is a portion or a part of what the ability of God is, right? So God has the ability to imaginate, right? To create. It's creation. So you also have the ability to create. And so that's the God-given magic that we have. That is what we are here to do, is to create, right? We're creators. We're in creative mode and survival mode, but we are creative mode, right? So your subconscious is to help you create its flow. Your consciousness is where your behaviors are. This is how you decide to be. And this is when you really activate your DNA. Your conscious state is when you're reading your soul. So you realize you're like an individual. You're conscious. You're like, whoa, my name is Sebastian. I'm a conscious person. So you gain awareness of self. This gives you the ability to start reading your DNA. So you start reading like what your story is meant to be like. So you start connecting with the deeper self. Like, okay, like what do I like? And okay, that's what I like. And like you're sure of yourself during this time, or at least you begin to be, right? You might by the end of it not be, because you weren't allowed to be yourself. So that creates a lot of issues in themselves, right? But if you get to be yourself, then you get to really align with the deeper, like who I'm supposed to be. So then your inner DNA is going to be reflected by your outer personal decisions. And so when you align with yourself, like let's say you had a like a type of allergy, right? And all of a sudden, you're being put in a position where you're having to consume this allergy, right? This thing's going to make you sick. Well, you should be able to, you know, make a decision to change your, because if you're not eating the proper things, your DNA is going to have a reaction to it, right? So it is important to pay attention to what's important for the inside so that the outsides are reflecting those things. So it's very important to understand that the way your body is reading the world is very important for the way you should be operating within this world. The big problem is that they've been systematically programming us to start homogenizing when we're not meant to homogenize. We're actually meant to be individuals. We're actually meant to be different. They want us all to be the same. And that's why they don't appreciate people's souls anymore, because they view people as NPCs, right? They view people as just like dispensable, like in a video game, right? It's like, they talk about the youth playing video games and not seeing lives as, valuable, but you have the elite that also don't see lives as valuable, right? And so they're playing a game too, right? They're playing the game of war. They're playing the game of politics. They're playing all kinds of games, right? To them, it's a board game. And so the same philosophy that you use for anybody else, especially like on the lower end of the social economic status, well, then you should hold the people that have the real power accountable to the same standard, right? So we live in a system right now that doesn't allow people to activate their magic, to activate their divinity, to activate the self-love that they were meant to be. So they grow up not being able to accept themselves, which is also why you usually see ego disorders or personality disorders come from the ages about 6 to 11, when they're not able to be themselves and they're constantly being provided negative comments about themselves. And so this ends up creating a system where they adopt a lot of those criticisms and they end up trying to fill the gaps with other people, but then they never truly feel like themselves. So they're in a never ending battle of who am I? Because when they were trying to be themselves, they were put down for it because they weren't homogenizing. And so later, when they're homogenizing, they don't feel like themselves. So they start getting depressed because that's not truly who they are, right? And so, again, this process happens because people aren't being accepted for who they are. And this is the same story you're seeing right now with the greater, like, government and stuff like that. The same issues that we're having right now are just being repeated, in different layers of society, essentially. So it's like what happens in school is the same thing that happens in like world. It's the same thing that happens in governments. Like it's the same thing. It's favoritism. It's like, dumb hazing. It's the same thing. Like the same systems exist throughout all of the different tiers. And that's another problem, right? So we have the subconscious, we have the conscious, and we also now have the superconscious. The superconscious, I would say, starts really trying to set itself up around 12 and up. This is when you start, being able to like open up your eye to the different perspectives outside of just growing up. And now you understand that there's a world beyond, which is why you start getting the Adam's apple, because it's like you ate the apple from, the Garden of Eden, essentially. And this is what the apple represents, is the ability to produce fruit. So you have to be able to understand that if you're going to produce offspring, you have to be able to stress out. So the second that you can produce kids, you have to know that the world is a messed up place, because it's not just about you anymore. It's about something you're bringing to the world, right? And so that's why you get the Adam's apple. And like the whole reference, like you don't fall far from the tree and all that. It all goes back to the same idea that, plants represent like humans and our like abilities, like, being able to reproduce and all these things. So, they're really like important to understanding how we operate too. So the Adam's apple, again, you start understanding that once puberty hits, this is when you have to accept the role of adulthood. You are now reaching independence, right? You are now reaching, a stage in development where you need to sustain yourself, right? You need your own way of like living, and you need to align now with what you're meant to do. And so you gain more perspective as you get that maturity. That's why the prefrontal cortex is also where the third eye is. And so when you reach maturity, you are opening up your third eye, which is your greater perspective of the world. And all the little things that you did growing up, all the little pieces now provide a fuller perspective on who you are, right? And so now you've reached a level of enlightenment where you can really start to go from the physical need to the understanding, right? The mind, right? You really appreciate learning. So you appreciate growing, and you get to a point where you don't appreciate growing anymore. But you didn't appreciate thinking, and now you really do appreciate thinking. And so you start activating the third eye, the spiritual realm starts to show you the divinity that's in front of you. And this is when you start really aligning with the stars, right? First, you understood the earth, and now you must align with the stars because the stars are telling your story. The stars are guiding you on what you need to be doing for your story. So the more that you align with your destiny, the more that things start to come together. And that's why it's the super conscious. I like to think of it this way too. So on your dreamland, right, we're going to say that that's like the power of creation, right? You have the power to create. So you have the gift of God, which is the gift of creation. Okay. The other thing that you connect with, so that's subconscious. Now, is the super conscious, right? Well, technically you connect with the consciousness too, but this is our baseline, right? Theoretically. The next thing you have is you have your super conscious, right? And that's when you're connecting with the creator, right? That's when you're connecting with source. So it's like one's imagination and one's like the connection of everything, right? So on one, you can essentially astral project, transcend this reality. You can see other things like symbols. Sometimes you see people, things, objects. It kind of just depends what happens. It's like its own television in a way. You're tuning into something greater than yourself. And so this information highway you tune into, different people explain it in different ways. Some people believe they've visited very similar places to other people, and some people have seen things that, they're the only ones that have had access to those things, right? And so it just depends on, what comes your way and when. The people that I've helped activate the Kundalini, in their process of activating it, it was never something they were choosing. It's something that happened to them, right? They were just preparing themselves for the thing to happen, and then when it happened, it just hits them. And they describe the same process, right? Where it's like you feel like shaking in your body, you attune to a certain frequency, you start to feel like this energy flowing through you. You start to see things, you start to like envision things, and you're in like your body changes. Like you literally go through some kind of transcending experience. It's like you're watching Avatar and you're reaching like the like Avatar state, or like Dragon Ball Z when they're like unlocking like Super Saiyan, and that's like the serpent rising the Kundalini, and it activates. And what's interesting too is like the Super Saiyan sound, I believe, is like made after like a heartbeat, which makes sense because that's what's giving you aura is your heart. So it's literally just telling you that if you work on your heart, your mind and body, you literally will develop an aura. Like that aura will have an impact on people around you. And so that's what a lot of these shows are just telling you how it operates, right? One of my favorite shows is Full Metal Alchemist. That is such a good show. Brotherhood, especially Brotherhood, but it's such a good show in showing you like how like alchemy works, how magic works, how light work works, like all these things. It's just such a good show that like hits so many points, and they do it so well because it's like the show's really captivating, but it also just shows you the things that you're looking for, especially like in esoteric information and the details they put in that show, especially like, for example, like there's these alchemist like doors, and they're all like created or aligned with each of the characters individually. So it's not just like a generic door. Each time you look at the door, it's going to be for a specific character, and you can tell it's in reference to them. And so like just the little details like that, because that's like so true to like magic, right? It's like magic is about precision. It is about precision. It's very precise actually, which is why you have to be careful. Because depending on what you're manifesting, depending on what you're asking for, if you don't ask for it the right way, it will come to you. It will come your way. Whatever you ask for, it will come, but it's not the way you think. So, especially like when you want something, like, oh yeah, I want a car or something or whatever. Well, sometimes bad things will happen and you're going to get a new one. And it's not the one you want, it's just a new one. You said, I want a new blank. You didn't specify, you didn't explain, you didn't, nothing. And so that's why manifesting is interesting, because depending on what you say, it's going to have a profound impact on the people around you and what you're doing and what you receive. And so being very careful of what words you use, because whatever word you end up using, it will define what you manifest in the reality. And I like to tell people the word human being is really interesting, because if you break it down into the three parts, you have hue, which is color, so it's a spectrum of color. You have the man, which is manifesting, right? And then you have being, which is a spirit. So hue is about a color spectrum, and so it's allowing people to see on different wavelengths, especially with chakra systems, because on the lower end you have the red, and on the upper end you have like the indigo. And so these spectrums, just like the light spectrums that we see, are also the spectrums that are associated with our different chakra systems. So this hue is the chakra systems within, which are the different feelings that you can have, or the different energies you can produce. So you have these different energies, and then you're the machine, right? So you're the physical body, right? And this physical body can work with the physical world, while the other part, the chakra system, can work with the spiritual world, right? And then the spirit is the component where the soul and the heart are together, right? And so spirit is what allows you to animate. So you could say like the chakra system is like a HUD, and then the body is like the physical, right? Like the hardware. So like you could say the chakra is like the software, and then like the body is like the hardware, and like the being is like the electricity. And so that's kind of how they work as a team. Is like one is the hardware, one is the software, and so one is the electricity, which allows them to work together. And so this is kind of, again, the Holy Trinity, as you could say it. Like you keep saying the three. There's three in a lot of ways, right? So there's like the positive, the negative, and the neutral, right? You have the one, the zero, and the space in between. So there's like always like going to be like a three, and three is just such an important number, because like so many things like happen in threes. And so you'll see the number three, or like three things all encounter, like rock, paper, scissors, right? Which actually, funny enough, another three thing. Recently, I've been listening and researching stuff. And one thing that popped out to me that was really funny was this meme and the guy was explaining it. It made total sense. It was like you have rock, or no, okay, well, he said normie, schizo, and psychopath, right? And so he had these three and he was explaining them. And then I thought about it and I was like, wait, that explains rock, paper, scissors, but really well because you just got to look at the way they operate, right? So normies are rocks. Those are those like family members that you try to explain stuff to them and they just don't get it. And they're just like, oh yeah, haha. And they're, oh yeah, I know about that. And you're just like, okay, rock, huh? Rock, rock, rock. And so these individuals are the type of people that don't like change. They will act in a way where it's like they prefer things to be the same. Like in the way where if you bring up information, they'll be like, "Oh, well, I didn't hear that." Like they're very susceptible to mass media. They're very susceptible to the government, like just telling them what to do. And they're the type of people that feel safe being like the same. So they're full of a lot of information, but not the type of information that actually helps you understand things. It's just the type of information that lets you know things. Okay, you just know a lot, but you don't understand any of it. So like it's like people that like memorize the Bible, but like don't understand what they're saying. So like they repeat the Bible phrases and they say things, but they don't actually like understand what they're like exploring or explaining. And when you truly understand something, you can even explain it in several different ways so that someone could understand because you truly understand. And instead, like some people will just keep regurgitating, but they don't fully understand what's happening, right? And so that's rock. You have people that are rocks. So rocks, again, very dense, okay? Now you have the scissors, which are the schizos, as they would say. And these are people that are aware and awake to what is happening within the system, especially the spiritual world. They're very aware that black magic, child sacrificing, and a lot of crazy things that are really affecting the world right now are definitely happening. And they are definitely aware of how the magic operates. And they're doing the type of research necessary that wasn't taught anywhere close to like normal. If anything, they make a lot of media, movies, and references to it to like make it seem like it's not what it is. But when you really understand it, you're like, damn, it's bad. And so once you're awake, you start to see truth. And so you start to be sharpened up like scissors, right? So now you're starting to see through the bullshit. So you start to see through reality and what it really is. And that's some scary stuff for some people because that means you see through everything, right? You're like, well, that doesn't add up with this, and that doesn't add up with this. And so as you sharpen yourself up, right, again, you will start to become scary, right? Because you know too much. You start to sound crazy. You're the crazy, unstable person with scissors, okay? Then you have, it's like people that are like, what do you call them? Like conspiracy theorists who are like cutting up like different, like news articles and different things and connecting all that. That's like a schizo, right? That's the person that connects all the dots and sounds crazy, right? Now, the other person that you're going to see is the psychopath. And the psychopath is the paper, right? They're like the bureaucracy. They put up the front. It's like what the government does where like you'll get a license for something or like you'll get like let's say okay, for example, you own a home. Okay. And the government one day is like, we need this to build a military base, or we need this because there's like this here, this oil, like whatever, right? If they truly want to, they will get you out of there. They will move you and they will pay you whatever they want. They make money. They don't care. But you won't get that house back and you're not going to get that thing back. You're done. So you really don't actually own anything. And like, let's say just the government stopped functioning in the sense that like there was a fall in our country, right? Well, what happens then? Who's gonna, like, if there's no government because we're in a civil war or something crazy like that, or something happens and everything falls apart, what does it matter anymore? Like, let's say they bomb all your whole home just gets bombed, right? Because we're in civil war now or something crazy. You own nothing. The government's not going to help you. Like, you're not going to, like, let's say the civil war is over. Cool. You're not going to get your stuff back. If you lose the war, you just lost everything. And if you win the war, okay, cool. You still lost everything and you have to, like, start again. So you really don't own anything. You don't own anything. Like, this idea that you own anything, like, most people have not been able to keep anything in their family for more than a couple generations, because none of us have, like, things from our great, 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 great. We don't have that. Okay. It's not happening. So we don't own anything. And people who stick to owning stuff are the people that allow the psychopaths to control them. Like, this is what happens. Like, the paper is the illusion that you're safe. Okay. And I'll give you an example. If you cover a rock in paper, the rock's thinking that you're protecting it, but really you're just blinding it. It's calling it, you're caging it and calling it protection. And so that's what the rock doesn't see, is it thinks this paper is protecting it, but what's actually happening is it's siphoning out its life, its resources, and doing it while it blinds the rock, right? Using paper, because there's so much bureaucracy that it allows the people that are really hurting people and doing bad things to hide behind a bunch of paperwork. And see, the scissors are able to cut through paperwork. They see what the psychopaths are doing. They see, like, wait a minute, this isn't normal. And this isn't normal. Why is this happening? And this keeps happening. And this keeps it. Why is that happening? And, well, when you have a lot of powerful people in charge, the paper is going to win, because there's so much paper. Even the scissors are having a hard time cutting through it. There's so much information. There's so many things, loopholes, different. Now, the good thing about technology nowadays is that we are able to siphon through a lot of data quickly. So there are some benefits to things like AI being a thing where they can, scan through thousands of documents in a short amount of time, because sometimes you have to put all these different pieces together to find the reality of what's happening in the world. Because again, if you rely on the media that's being provided to you by corporations, they're going to paint a narrative that is going to benefit them. Obviously, if you had a journal, if you had a newspaper, you obviously want them to talk highly about you, not negatively about you, which again is what's happening when very few corporations actually own all of these products. The people that are associated with those corporations, you're not going to hear much negativity about them, which isn't reality. It's just what's happening in a system that is perpetuating control onto all the people, right? So there's a lot of control on what's happening right now in the way our system is operating, where, we aren't allowed to talk about, for example, like magic as an example, right? It is seen as like alternative medicine. It is seen as the other, right? Which is fascinating, when the idea that magic's been around since the dawn of humanity. Like, they believed more in magic than science, okay? Because they were like, wait, this makes more sense. This feels natural. And they were just enjoying the process of magic, right? They were able to connect with the underworld, the spiritual world. They were able to connect with Gaia. They were able to figure out what we were doing here on Earth, what our purpose was. They were able to make numbers and languages out of the stars, and they were able to see the geometrical shapes, sacred geometry. They were able to activate different sounds, frequencies. They were able to levitate rocks. They were able to use electronic devices just because they had batteries and all kinds of stuff. So they had a lot of technology back then, and they understood the world, but they were doing it through a spiritual belief system. So they were allowing God the higher universe to give them knowledge and information. And then they already had a computer. So we use computers and graphics cards and different things to render reality. When the reality is these same individuals had the same processing power in their dream and imagination states. So what we call a graphics card, we have a graphics card inside. And what we call memory RAM, we have RAM. We also have large storage units. And we have even things that are beyond the capacity of a computer because we have feelings and we can connect to our divinity. And we also have a power source system. We already have systems like sleep modes, regulation modes, power modes. We have all these things. And so when we learn how to activate our human body, we understand that we are a human computer, and that human computer can literally render its own reality. We can imagine ourselves in different worlds. We can imagine ourselves. We're reading a book and we're literally imagining the characters and what they look like. So this ability to imagine things, the ability to render reality within a reality, that is what computers are doing now. So we were the initial computer systems, and we could calculate things beyond our current capacity, in the same sense that dogs, before they were domesticated, were living in nature just fine. They didn't need us in the same way wolves don't need us, right? It's when we domesticate things, it's when we prevent things from living to its true potential that it starts to evolve or degenerate, or like whatever you want to call, like going backwards. So we're starting to lose abilities, almost like Wall-E, in a way where these people weren't even couldn't even get up out of their chairs because they'd lost so much of their initial humanity, that their programming was just sit here and do nothing and consume. And so they were literally not living. They just became some kind of vessel for energy or data. They weren't even a person anymore. So taking back your energy, taking back your power, taking back your word and your attention is what really gives you that ability to hone in on your magic, really gives you ability to hone in on your divinity. And when you trust your gut, when you focus your mind, and when you follow your heart, you're really able to push yourself into greater capacities. And the world will start aligning for you. The alchemical process, right? The ability to change lead into gold is literally the process of killing your ego, the thing that's holding you down, really bonding with the true self, fusing at that higher self, and then becoming the in and the out that you need to be to find your way to your destiny or whatever you're supposed to be doing. And the universe will put different things in front of you as obstacles for you to achieve your higher purpose. So if you're like, man, I want to be somebody that's in a band, it's like, okay, well, what instrument are you going to play? And you're like, I want to play guitar. So then it's going to start putting guitars in front of you. It's going to start putting these situations in front of you, especially the more that you align with, I want to play guitar, I want to be in a band. Well, you're going to start talking to people and meeting people in the way you're interacting with the world. If you keep saying, I want to be in a band, I'm looking to be in a band, I want to learn an instrument, you're going to start hearing people, oh, I know somebody, oh, I know this, I know that. And that is the universe sending information your way, almost like a Google search in a way, but you're doing it yourself. But you're going out in the world and you're searching through different pages of society to get to the resources that you want that are aligning with the goals that you're creating. And so by speaking to the universe, by living in a way where you're going to do that, you start practicing music, you start aligning yourself with what kind of vibe you want to have. You start really exploring and experimenting and showing the authentic, true self, right? Through this experience, then people will start wanting to bring you into them because you're being yourself, you're being honest, you're being consistent, and you show that you actually care for this. This is a passion of yours. And so by having this as a passion of yours, it's helping you pump yourself up. It's helping motivate you. It's helping you align and feel like you're being current. And a lot of people that I work with end up reporting that it feels like they're floating in water when they're going through this process. So it's very healthy for them to be able to find peace in their heart and use their heart as a mechanism for mindfulness and to stay present. And so let's talk a little bit about how do we use these abilities and why are they so important? And the first thing I would recommend we look at is, what does it mean to be at peace and tranquil? What does nirvana mean? Now, a good way to kind of think about what nirvana means, I like to think of myself at a nice calm lake, and you see a lake, and you see this image on top of the lake. And the image is you see the sky on the lake. And another word for sky is heaven. And so you can see heaven on earth when looking at water while it's tranquil, while it's in a nirvana state, right? So if you look at yourself in this water, you'll also see your image perfectly as you are in that moment. So you can see yourself through the blood of God. You can see your image perfectly as you are when it's still. You can also see yourself in heaven on earth while looking at tranquil water. So you can see yourself in the heavens only while we're looking at tranquil water. So that is what it means to have heaven on earth, is to find that peace where it's like you are peaceful water on earth. Because if you heat that water up, you take the image away. If your blood's boiling, if you're angry, you take away the image and you no longer are seeing yourself in heaven. The same problem if you freeze the water over. You also will not want to be in that water, and you are now freezing your veins, which is making your heart cold, which will crush the people around you. And with you go through this process, again, you're losing your heaven on earth. So the only way to sustain heaven on earth is to find that peaceful place in your heart. So you take a peaceful place that you've been to, a beach, a lake, whatever, right? Some kind of place or a forest where you see a nice, little bit of water and you see a reflection and you just find that tranquility there. And so wherever that tranquility is in your life, you hold that image in your heart. When you feel your blood boiling or you feel your water or your ice in your veins, you remind yourself to go back to that tranquil place and find that peace in your heart. And that is where you find the most stability in your life, is that peaceful place in your heart. And so you want to find this peaceful place because this peaceful place will then allow you to interact with people and not be impacted by their energy levels. So if someone's having a stressful day and they're steaming, it ain't going to bother you because you're chill. If someone's cold and distant, it ain't going to bother you because you're being chill. So when you remain chill, when you remain tranquil, when you remain in nirvana, when you remain balanced, at peace, mindfulness, unity, right? Coherence, common sense, all these words, emotional intelligence, empathy, all these different words, same process, right? And when you stay in this process, it allows you to take on the negativity, even positivity over this, but it helps you just stay in control, present, mindful, not too much in my thoughts, not too much in my feelings, just enough where I need to be. And this helps me take on the world, right? This gives me peace on earth. And so that's how you activate what people call your aura, right? Your inner nirvana. And so once you activate that, that's step one. Step two is you want to be able to speak truth to people. The truth is the most powerful thing in the world. And when you have a dark room, if you turn a light on, it with just one light, you will take out all that darkness, right? So one truth can change a million lies. Okay, it just takes one truth to take out a million lies, okay? And so when you find the power inside of you to start hitting people with the truth, you will start knocking some sense into them, right? Some reality, okay? Now, this is what I call an exorcism. So first you need to purge yourself of the 7 deadly sins that you have within you, right? So we got what? Lust, gluttony, sloth, envy, wrath, greed, and then what's the pride, right? So those are the 7 right there. If you're able to get these out of your system, right? Really tune them down to the bare minimum where they're just present, but they're not overwhelming. Yeah, you're going to have thoughts here, there, you're going to have things, but you're not letting it consume your life, right? Once you align and get those out of you, you start feeling that peace, that light within you. You start taking care of your soul. And what this does is when people come around you, you're going to start feeling their aura. So once you have common sense, you'll start reading people's energy, and you can tell. And you can tell already when you were a kid and your mom would come home and she'd be all, you could tell when she's mad, when she's frustrated, when she's sad. You just read it. It's not hard. And they're like, no, I'm not. But you can tell by their body language. It's not very hard to tell what's going on. You can see it. And so the same process, you end up doing this for yourself too. When, you're around people and you're like, something feels off about their energy, right? And later on, as you really work on the sins yourself, you'll start to see, oh, that's wrath. Oh, they have some pride. Oh, that's greed. And you can tell by the way they're behaving. It's not very hard. Like, again, they're pretty much telling you, right? But people tend to like change their body and change their language and change how they act, especially when they're acting within those negative energies. Like they'll be like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, whatever. Right. They'll make faces. They'll do things. So like that energy actually changes their body as within, or as within, as without, right? Or as above, so below. So as they're feeling it within, you're experiencing that energy on the outside, right? So that little negative part of them is coming out and you're seeing it. And that is what I call someone being possessed in a way, or they're allowing this lust, this greed, this envy to control aspects of their life. And they're not willing to take control or attack that negativity in there, right? And so they're allowing this thing to kind of run their life. But they're miserable at this point. They're not happy with it, but they're doing it anyways, right? They act like they're prideful, but really deep down, they don't like to do it. But they're not ready to admit that, so they keep doing it. And so they're gonna, I've been around people and they'll be doing something, and then like they ask me for my opinion, and I'll give it to them. I'm honest about my opinion. I'm like, you need to work on this, or hey, this is something that would benefit you. And you can tell by the way they act that, and they'll start reacting. So there's 4 things that people do in an exorcism. The first thing they do is avoid the topic. So they act like you didn't say it. The second thing they do is they become a victim. What? Like, I can't believe you'd say that about me. Like, it's like you're throwing holy water, right? It's just water, right? It's just water, but it's holy, right? Because it's truth, right? So it's tranquil, but it's truth, right? It's truth water, okay? And so you're hitting them with this, and they're, you're hurting me. They're being a victim. They're victimizing themselves, right? The third thing they're going to do is they are going to become the bad person. Yeah, I don't care. Fine, I'm bad. What? Now what? You gonna leave me? What? Yeah, everyone leaves me. I know I'm horrible. And so they react with that, like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Like, do whatever you're going to do. And that's the third, right? That's the third stage. The fourth stage you're going to find is they're going to throw a fucking tantrum. They're going to destroy shit. They're going to act like you're making me act crazy. You're doing this to me. And that, like, they are literally like letting out that chaos inside of them. It's coming out. You're pulling it out. Now, the more you stay calm, the more you stay present, the easier it is to manage this energy, because it can't hurt you. It just can try to intimidate you, scare you. It might try to grab you. They might do something to you. But ultimately, as long as you stay present and only react appropriately, they will surrender over time. They might run away. They might like go take a break for a while. But the initial like part of it's been done, right? You hit them with the truth. You sustained your ground. You kept your heaven inside, like you stayed peaceful. You kept the truth at them and you kept hitting them with it. And then eventually they either submit and say, hey, I've been fucking up. I want to change. Or they go away and you let them. And they come back around and they're like, okay, I want to change now. I don't want to do it anymore. So they're confessing. And so at this confession, you're like, okay, so you don't want to do that. You're going to be different. You're going to change. Cool. So you're going to do it for you, right? You're done. And you're like, yeah, I'm done. I'll do that. So you're holding them accountable for the change that they're saying they want to change in themselves, right? So now you're making them use their own heart and word against themselves. And now you've done your job. You stood your ground. You hit them with the truth. You let them bring out the chaos. They confronted it. They went away. They did that was the part of it. They came back. They sought redemption, which is, you can call it confession. And then I blessed their soul, right? And now they're going to go try to fight for themselves because they know somebody that's connected with the higher power is calling their bullshit out. And they deep down want peace in their heart too, because they were meant to love and peace too. They weren't meant to suffer. The problem is we have so many people that take advantage of people that do not care about their soul in the end. They would rather have material things. They would rather do, status, money, and power. And they're stuck there. So there's a lot of people out there that aren't genuinely trying to help people. And I get that. And there are a lot of people that are not helpful, right? But when you finally learn how to help yourself and align, people will come seek your care and love. They will want to know hey, what do you think about this? Or hey, what's your opinion? Because at the end of the day, it's not that it's funny too. They always say good guys finish last, right? Well, another person that finishes last is bad boys, right? The only guy that actually finishes honestly is the honest guy. Because he's the only one that's gonna actually do it right? And that's why if you're gonna, work on yourself, just do enough, right? Don't try to do more or less. Just do enough. Because it's not about always doing 110%. It's about doing 100% every day. And as long as you're doing your 100%, that's the best you can do. So this idea of you need to be doing 110 is bullshit. It's a lie. Because then if you're always pushing an engine to over capacity, you're gonna blow it up. What the hell are we saying? It doesn't even make sense. It's oh, you always need extra. If you always ate more calories, you would get fat. That would just happen. If you always worked extra hours, you would be more tired because that's not your normal work. You'd be I don't actually work 8 hours anymore. I actually work this many. And so, yeah, I'm at first be money, but then you're bro, I'm dead. I'm dying inside. What is this, right? What is happening? And so even though some people might be, oh, it's just no, that over time will add up. It's a significant change to someone's life. So just be enough. And it's hard to be enough for people. It's very challenging because people are so used to being pushed to being more or less. I mean, every damn commercial is get more for less value, more prices or more value, less headaches, whatever, right? They got 10 different commercials of the same thing. But that same more or less is what you hear at work, what you hear at home, what you hear in relationships. Everywhere is about more or less. And when you're living in more or less, you're never living in enough. And so if you're not living in enough, then you're living in hell, because up and down, more or less, is hot and cold, but never chill. And so let's try to live more and chill. That's what the goal is. And that's why we were talking earlier about seeking your nirvana, seeking your peace of mind. When you're starting to feel heated, cool off, right? Breathe. Progressive muscle relaxation is good. Remember, upper body is masculine energy. That's why you got this, all the shoulders affecting the arms, all this. This is all connected. This is all stress related. This is masculine energy. Oh, right. Every guy works on your arm. They're a big boy, right? So this is masculine zone. Okay. This is positive energy. Then you have negative energy, right? You have the legs and the abs here, the legs, right? This is all female. This is all the feminine energy, right? And that's why women like to work out the bottom half of themselves. They also, when they're doing labor, they're pushing, right? And feelings come from your stomach, whereas thoughts come from your mind, right? So, males, again, men are masculine energy while women are feminine energy. It doesn't mean that we don't need both. They're very important for both people, but you can tell which one's more associated and which one's more geared towards which one. That's why you tend to see more narcissist and you tend to see more borderline, right? More feeling-based disorders, more cognitive-based disorders. So you'll see some variations, but this is typically what you're going to find, because we do tend to be more aligned with wherever we are with our emotional state, based on, and our thinking state based on, again, masculine and feminine energy. And when you combine these two energies and you add them up, you get neutrality, right? If you allow yourself to get too much in your masculine energy, you'll stress yourself out. You'll be aggressive. If you get too much in your feminine energy, you'll be too soft. You won't be hard enough to get things done. You'll be too sensitive. And so you want to be able to align these two to really find yourself, right? I like to say you could focus on the wave, right, crashing around you, or you can surf right through and just enjoy that process. Because if you surf right through, you don't have to think about the wave that's crashing. You just have to stay balanced and mindful and just follow the current. Same thing if you're a bodyboarder, right? You're bodyboarding, you catch that current, it just takes you. You can't question it. You just have to jump at the right moment. And that's what life can feel like. Today, while I was crossing the border, I had to I was in line, and then it was like God was like sending cars next to me, and I'm just like, I don't like to switch lanes because I'm like I like to be in my lane. But I was like, you know what? Let's go, universe. You're telling me to go. Let's go. So I was like, fine. So I go, jump in the line. I get all the way up to the front, and then somehow some guy was moving for some reason all the way across a huge amount, and then he opened up the space where I got back in the line that I like to get into. But I was able to skip all that line just because I followed my intuition. And there was times I was trying to fight. I was like, no. And then there's something in me that's like, come on. You know it's better. Look at it. It's moving. Look at it. Come on, go. I could feel it in me too, like pushing me. And I was like, okay. So I finally let it go. And sure enough, I was able to make it home a lot faster and smoother, and everything worked out. And I just had to trust the process. As much as sometimes it's like, I have to do that to make this change. But that change is necessary for me to get to the next chapter of my life. I have to finish the last words of a chapter so I can move on to the next one, right? So sometimes I have to take those risks. Sometimes I have to take that uncomfortable change to allow myself to align with more outcomes that could be potentially positive for me, right? So you got to take chances and risk, and they're not even that big of risk either. So the way you can view risk too in this world is the same way you can view risk in your dreams, right? So in your dreams, you have to trick yourself to believe that it's not you in control, like when you're having a nightmare, or it wouldn't be scary. Like you're actually in control of the whole thing. Like you're literally fabricating an alternative universe that you just made up. You're just making it, and you believe it's real. Like you are literally creating an alternative universe inside of you that only you have access to at that time, a little private server, and you're rendering reality and you're tricking yourself that it's not real so that you can be scared. Well, that same process is pretty much happening in this conscious. Like some people say that this reality is the dream of a God, right? So like we're in God's dream essentially. And so we are conscious, like matter, just as much as there's conscious matter in your dreamland. Like physics still work in your dreams for some reason. Like you can't run away, you fall down. What'd you trip on if there's no gravity? You're still making gravity work even though there's no gravity, right? Like you're still breathing even though there's no air in your dream, because that's what we can do with our imagination. That's as humans, imagine the all source, right? What can it do with its imagination, right? What's the capability? And I bet you there's been dreams where you've lived entire lifetimes and it was just one dream. And so at the end of the day, if that could happen in your dream, imagine a super conscious being's dream. Like what the fuck? Like, if you can do all this stuff in your dream, imagine we're already in inception. This is the second layer. Like you go down to our layer, we're in a dream within a dream, right? And how can we say that? Well, again, even this physical material, if I zoom in far enough, there's nothing there. There's movement. There's waves going like this. That's not physical matter. That we wouldn't consider that physical matter at that point, right? If it doesn't have resistance back, what is it, right? And so that's a dreamland, to some extent. The same way a dreamland do they exist? What's the physics? I'm rendering it in my own reality. How did I program the physics? I just did it. I don't know. It just happened. And it all perfectly aligned in my dream. Again, because we can render reality, right? We are deciding what the physics looks like, and we can be pretty accurate in our own dreamlands. So the same process is happening right now with our reality, right? And so, yeah, you live in a magical world inside of some super being's consciousness, rendering reality right in front of you, sharing this rendered reality just as much as, the things that are in your dream are rendering a reality. It's just this one happens to be more material because we can study it, right? Maybe, God wakes up every bajillion years or whatever you want to call a year in the term of God, right? I don't know, whatever his gravitational pulls telling him what a year is, but we're here for now just as much as the people in our dreams are there during that dream, you know, but they're not. When they are no longer in that dream, are they there, or did they exist? Are they always a part of us? Will they always be a part of the universe? Just as much as data will never stop existing. So once that existed once in the universe, can it stop existing? This is etched in my soul now as a constant. So anyways, guys, that's some stuff for today. Thanks for coming along on my magical rant of reality and how we're all living in a super being's consciousness. But hope to see you guys on the next one, and take it easy. Thanks, guys. Later.